Capitol Hill. So what more can be done to heal the nation? I'm joined now by Kirk Schneider, who's a psychologist and author of Depolarizing of America, a guidebook for social healing. Thank you so much for joining us on BBC World News. Let's start off with first, why America became so divided and how psychologists can help with that.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I think that we need to make mental health and particularly psychology a national priority. We need to really transform psychology from being a secondary priority to a primary national priority. And that has a lot to do with how, as you say, the divides have intensified, especially over the last 5 years. How this happened, I think convergence of events. Certainly our former president was a very polarizing figure, and we already had a great deal of polarization in the country. And I think a lot of it has to do with fear. People fearing losing their identities, nationalistic, nativistic identities, partly because we have an increasingly multicultural society, and losing jobs that they had before, and basically a fear of a lot of the challenges that we face today.
And with those challenges that we face, of course, as you've just said, for Americans, many people might be saying, well, that's not going to help me get a job. That's not going to help me sort out coronavirus that is spreading in the community. That's not really going to help me, if we're talking about people that might be, for example, of a different ethnic background than being a white American, to address the race problems in America. So, do you really believe that the divisions can be healed with a way of tackling mental health first? So what do you think needs to happen in the short term?
Well, actually, I think in both the short and the long term, we need really a mass movement of healing dialogues, meaning supportive, highly structured group and one-on-one encounters between people of very contrasting backgrounds. We've seen that these groups can be very transformative. For many people, there's a grassroots movement called Braver Angels in the United States that has well over 10,000 members, and they bring self-identified liberals and conservatives together for living room style dialogues. I've been also presenting on what I call the Experiential Democracy Dialogue, which is a one-on-one, more intimate encounter, highly structured, and again, safe, because it's very tied to ground rules that emphasize civility and respect for one another. I've been doing this for about 15 years, and I just feel very strongly these dialogues are probably more relevant than they've ever been right now. And again, I think they need to happen at a much more mass scale. We now have about 10,000 members of Braver Angels throughout the country. So in addition to that, I also call for a psychological consultant, or I've also called it a Psychologist General of the United States. I think we need a person and an office in government that will streamline the wealth of data that we have as psychologists about how to address, racism, the pandemic, misinformation. And that office could really streamline.
Indeed. I think we could continue this conversation for some time to address all those issues, but unfortunately we've run out of time. But we'd like to thank you for being with us. Kirk Schneider, thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.